We have some results from a universal basic income study that was just happening. I think it's in Stockton, California. Take a look at this. California program giving $500, no strings attached, stipends, pays off, study finds. So, I think the most important finding and the most interesting finding is this. The opponents of universal basic income argue, hey, if you just give people money, you take away their incentive to work. They don't want to work, so they're just going to stay home and be lazy because you're giving them money to do nothing, so why wouldn't they stay home and be lazy? Fascinating finding that the exact opposite happened. In other words, people who were getting the money were more likely to become employed than people who weren't. And it was pretty significant too. The numbers were pretty overwhelming. That what actually happened was having that extra money gave people the freedom to have a little bit of a cushion where they could look for meaningful employment. And so there was no increase in laziness. It was the opposite. The people who got the money were more likely to go get a job and work. And again, the numbers weren't even that close on that front. Now, beyond that, another argument that's made by people who oppose universal basic income is effectively, you can't trust people. You're going to give them the money and then they're going to go spend it on lottery tickets and gambling and bullshit. And that's not okay. Again, the exact opposite happened. So I believe the biggest thing that money was spent on was food. And then the other thing right behind that was like, rent, utilities, things of that nature. Basically, all the money was spent on necessities. So it turns out that when you have a universal basic income program, it acts like Social Security for all. In the same way we have Social Security for old people. Hey, you're old, it's not as easy to work, you might have health problems or whatever. You get health care and you get a payment. And that Social Security drastically cut poverty among older people in this country. The numbers are astounding. It was an insane success. It really was Social Security. This is effectively Social Security for all. And the results are, when you give people that little cushion, you know what it acts as? A little cushion. It helps people. That's it. That's all that happens. You give people some money, it helps them. Helps them pay the bills, helps them afford food, helps them find a job. And there's literally no downsides to this. And by the way, we were waiting on the results of the study, and the study is overwhelmingly pro-UBI. But also, we didn't even really need the results of the study because Alaska, for example, people who live in Alaska, residents of Alaska, they've been getting UBI for an extended period of time. There's no mass unemployment crisis or whatever the fuck. No, doesn't exist. So there's no reason not to do it. I told you guys UBI has moved up my list of policies I prefer, specifically when coronavirus hit, because my thought was, Jesus, all these people are getting laid off. You got all these problems. And what's the easiest, most direct way to help people? Cut them a direct check. That's it. It's not rocket science. And so, anyway, it's good to see that the data and the research is aligning with what seems intuitively correct and what seems like common sense. So credit to Mayor Tubbs, I think that's his name, who was instrumental in bringing this about, and I hope more places around the country do it, and I hope eventually we get a national UBI in this country. I do. I hope we get effectively Social Security for all, because there are only upsides, and now that's proven.